Good afternoon, guys. When we look at focus and our ability to take one thing and focus solely on that thing, when we look at that, it really is determination. And yes, it's my one word, it's my purpose, it's my core, and I love sharing that with you. And that's why I love my one word, determination. It means focus, it means making a choice, it means seeing that choice through until it's done. And that's really focus. So I want you to think about your life. Think about one thing that you can apply focus and determination on. Think about a success you've had in the past and go back to that. And I'm sure you'll see that in that was a focus that would not stop. It was a determination. It was never giving up until it was done. So apply that focus to what you really want in life. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
I had a lot of friends of mine try to talk me out of starting a rocket company because they thought it was crazy. And one friend of mine made me watch a video of rockets blowing up. And there were just lots of people that thought it was a really crazy idea. And there was some people that had tried to start rocket companies, not succeeded. And they tried to talk me out of it. And but the thing is that the premise for talking me out of it was, well, we think you're going to lose the money that you invest. And I was like, well, that was my expectation anyway. Right. So I don't really mind if I lose. I mean, I might, but I mean, it's not like I was trying to figure out the rank ordered best way to invest money, right. And on that basis, chose space.
Right.
It's not like that's. I thought, wow.
You weren't looking at like money market bonds, AAA bonds, right, exactly. Rocket company.
Like
you weren't like
do real estate. Invest in shoemaking, anything. And space is highest ROI.
Exactly.
That is not what that wasn't the premise. I just thought that it was important that humanity expand beyond Earth, and we weren't doing that. So maybe there was something I could do to kind of spur that on.
Great ideas flow through you. Teach yourself to learn, to understand, to feel that great ideas flow through you. That when you are feeling bold, powerful, courageous, ambitious, an idea comes to you, that is the right, perfect idea for you right now. And don't let your head talk you down from doing it. I think most of us live small. I think we're constantly living small. We're so concerned about our friends telling us that our ideas suck. It's us. It's ourselves. It's you telling yourself that your idea sucks, that you can never do that. We feel great one day. This is the entrepreneur roller coaster, right? You feel great one day. Oh my God, this is such a great idea. I could go do this. This is amazing. And maybe you start taking some action on it. But then what immediately happens is your head starts taking over. Say, well, you can't do that because you don't have the school, the education, the parents, the connections. You live in the wrong country. You're the wrong gender, race, etc. And then it stops. Meanwhile, dummies are winning off of your idea. With less heart, with less drive, with less ambition, with less of a desire to do good, they're winning off of your idea because they went off and did something while you are stuck overthinking your idea. This is what we do. This is what entrepreneurs, especially the heart-centered ones, do. Stuck constantly overanalyzing, overthinking, and stuck in the mud instead of actually creating. And the way to go through it is to trust in your ideas. If you're concerned that that's too egotistical, like, oh, I'm so great, I got these great ideas, great, take yourself out of the equation. Trust that the idea came from somewhere and it was given to you. And it's your responsibility to birth it into life. It's not even your idea. It was given to you. And then go off and create. One of the things that has really helped me achieve speed and momentum is I've learned to not judge the ideas that come to me. I've just said, you know what? Because I came up with this idea, now I have to go do something about it. And sometimes it turns into the next great thing. And sometimes it goes nowhere. That's okay. Right? The first top 10 video I ever made on my channel was on Kanye West. And he's behind me on the wall. There he is, Kanye West. Because my friend made a blog post about Kanye that was in a negative light. And so I wanted to make it positive. Say, hey, you can learn from him. And so I made a top 10 video on Kanye West just to show my friend. I had other things planned today, shut that all down just to make this one video, just to show my friend. With no plan of, this is gonna be my next big idea, right? People say, well, how did you know? I didn't know. I got an idea and I did something about it. I'm not that smart to be able to project 10 years forward and say, here's where the world is going, right? Maybe I can leave that to Elon Musk. I'm not that smart. But it came to me, so I did it. And it turned into something amazing. I've had other ideas that I started and they didn't go anywhere. Either the idea wasn't good enough or more likely, my energy just kind of faded from it. And so I stopped doing it, but at least I gave it a shot. All of these ideas that you've got, you don't know which one's going to work out. They could all be, practically speaking, great ideas. What's the best idea for you? I don't know. You don't know either until you start to try it by taking the immediate action on it. You have to trust in your ideas, that they came to you for a reason and you're supposed to do something about them. So how do we start doing it? How do you start taking the action? How do you start getting unstuck in your head of all the stuff that holds us back from actually creating? Let me give you some steps. Step number 1, idea to action. Take your brain out of the equation. There's a phrase that when you're in your head, you're dead. Like as soon as you start overthinking something, it's over. You came up with the idea, you're going to do something about it. When? Today. You came with the idea, so you're going to do something about it. When? Today. Right now. What's your next idea? What are you thinking of right now? Go do something about it. Immediate action. Because you came up with the idea, therefore you must go do the thing. That's the training you want to give yourself. Doesn't mean you have to go and do some big thing, but you have to get started. Immediate momentum. You want to start a YouTube channel. Great. You pull out your phone and you make a video. Doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what the lighting is. Don't worry about the sound. Don't worry about having a fancy microphone or a fancy camera. You pull out your phone, you press record, and you say you're starting a channel, and you post that first video. Okay? But then it's going to suck. Great. Which leads to point number 2. Expect to suck at the beginning. Why do you expect to be great out of the gate? You will not be great out of the gate. Doesn't mean that you suck as a human. It just means that your product sucks. But it's your first attempt. That's okay. When you try anything, you fall. When you get on a bicycle, you didn't just ride, right? You get a skateboard, you didn't just go. You're going to suck. That's okay. That's the learning process. You're going to learn a lot more and get better a lot quicker by actually trying, where we're stuck in learning and researching and planning, and then nothing that ends up getting created. You are wasting your best energy on planning. This is what most people do. This is what happens almost all the time. You come with an idea, you think it's a great idea. Oh my gosh, it's such a great idea. Great. You spend the next day or until you go to sleep planning, researching, preparing. And then you wake up tomorrow and say, I can't do that. That's crazy. That idea I had yesterday is crazy. I can't do that. Who do I think I was to be able to do that? You spent your best energy, your most confident energy, your most bold energy on doing the wrong thing, planning instead of making. Planning is important, but it's not the first thing you should do. The first thing you do is take some kind of action, some kind of immediate momentum, some kind of commitment, especially to somebody else, that you're going to do something. So if you want to start a YouTube channel, you take out your phone and say, hi, I'm going to start my YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm going to make content of. I'm really nervous, but I've been putting this off for 5 years and I'm tired of putting things off. So I don't know, join my journey and let's see how it goes. Great. Post. And as you start making, you're going to get better at it. Your first thing is supposed to suck. If you're going to get started, you're going to start making YouTube videos as an example, and your first video is amazing, then you actually suck. Then you waited too long. Your first version of whatever you do should be terrible. That's okay. So step one is listen to the ideas, trust the ideas. They are right for you because they came to you. You got to do something about it. Take immediate action. And then step number two is expect to suck. Reduce the burden of expectation on yourself that you have to be great from the start. As kids, we do this, right? We start, we try, we fail, we laugh, ha ha ha. And as adults, all of a sudden, we're afraid to do anything. And what you do is just slide into more of your comfort zone and more of your comfort zone, more of your comfort zone, and more of your comfort zone, and then realize, why do I hate my life so much? Because you're doing the same thing every day because you're afraid to branch out a little bit. Just expect to suck. Reduce that burden that you have to be amazing. And if you keep practicing, you keep loving it, you keep building it, guess what? You're going to get great at it. It doesn't have to take a decade. There's hacks, there's shortcuts. Model success, you'll get there faster, but you still have to do the journey. And step one of the journey is the most important step and is also the most painful step, that it's going to suck. Amazing. Every time you suck at something at the start, pat yourself on the back. You did a good job. Step number three, and this is just the caveat, is pay attention to your energy when you come up with ideas, okay? I'm assuming you're in a positive, bold, ambitious, confident, courageous state. When you are feeling a positive emotion, the ideas that flow through you are the right ideas for you. However, when you're feeling negative, low, you're feeling judgmental, you're feeling anger, you're feeling depression, you're feeling rage, you're upset that somebody else is having success, when you're in a negative mindset, the ideas that come to you are not the ones for you. Those are the ones to sit on, right? Like, I'm going to show her, I'm going to do this thing to him. I'm going to get my revenge by doing that. Okay. Those are the ideas to sit on. And it's funny because those are the ideas we usually act on. The spontaneous ideas that come to you that are negative, you're more likely to act on than the spontaneous ones that come to you that are positive. You're more likely to send that nasty text or leave that negative review or do that negative thing instead of the positive one. And so if you're in a negative state of mind, that's when it's worth waiting till tomorrow. You know, if tomorrow you think it's the right call, okay, then let's think about it. But not in the moment. Don't do the negative ones in the moment. But if it's positive, if you just came back from a seminar, or you're watching this video, or you're around amazing humans and you get these great ideas, those are the ones that you need to take some immediate action on. You have amazing ideas. You have a heart and a soul that wants to serve, that wants to help, that wants to contribute, that wants to not just fill your pockets and fill your bank account, but also contribute and help other people. You know you've got something much bigger inside you. But it does not come out unless you start to listen to those ideas and start to do something about them. So the next time an idea comes to you, maybe you got one right now, maybe something's flowing through you right now, learn to trust that idea. Tell yourself that great ideas flow through you, that you need to take some immediate action on it, and that it's going to suck at the beginning, and that's the best, and that's how you learn. Because if you kept doing that, do that for 3 months, do that for 6 months, do that for 12 months. The amount of amazing things you're going to help create for yourself, for your family, for your community, for the world is going to be just outstanding. And I can't wait to see what you end up making. Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Ya yo sé que es el flow con el dúo del modo combinado con el bajo, so te mueve a ti. así, nadie te gana a ti. Cuando te empiezas a mover, nadie te para a ti. Todas las chicas quisieran bailar así. Cuando suena el dembow, tú mandas por aquí. Si lo bailas, dígalo por ti. Si te sacan a bailar, tú le dices sí. Tú lo mueves, sobre amén. De la cabeza a los pies, tú eres feliz. Si bailan así con el mismo sentir, con tanta candela, no puedes subir. La noche está, o no puedo dormir, porque lo hacemos así. Todo el mundo diga, todo el mundo a danzar con el dembow. Todo el mundo diga, todo el mundo diga, todo el mundo a danzar con el dembow. Todo el mundo diga, todo el mundo diga, todo el mundo diga, todo el mundo a danzar con el dembow. Todo el mundo diga.
Konnichiwa 祭りだ集まりな踊りなのみな軽いサビだここは宴ばわびさび感じて雅な時間をたしなみな旗の色とか気にしない隔てるかは君次第打ち上げてみな喜びの花火ブラタタブラタタブラタタタタタタ刀は捨てたが心は武士生き金引かず楽器弾く勇気世界中揺らす音楽が俺らにとっての武器
Feel the power of you controlling your breathing. In through your nose and out through your mouth. You've got your legs crossed, your back straight, your eyes closed. You remember the truth. You know the truth. That you were born to win, to take control of your life the way you take control of your breathing. One breath at a time, one thought at a time. So let's do that right now. Let's see ourselves doing the best we can as we begin our day today in the best way possible. Winning the morning, winning our mind, and growing our minds and our bodies. And whatever we do. So right now, let's see ourselves doing the best walk we've ever done when that music shuts off. Right here, right where we are, right where we sit. Because we know the truth. After all, we're made of truth. We're made of the same stuff the universe is made of. That's what makes you infinitely intelligent. See yourself right now doing the best walk you've ever done when that music shuts off. When that music goes off, you're going to win. You're going to make it real. You're going to make your dream, your vision real. Good morning, determination. So good to be here together again today. A new day, a new chance to be better than we were the last time. Here we go, everyone. When I say go, we're going to start jogging. So right now, as you're doing your best walk, whether it's side to side or whether you're simply walking on the spot, I want you to see yourself doing your best jog on the spot when I say go. I miss you so much, Beverly Glen. I miss you so much, determination. But we get to unite right now with this energy. We get to remember. We get to be our true great self. To grow our minds and to grow our bodies, wherever we are, whatever we're doing. And the way we do this is the way we'll do everything. So here we go. Okay, go. Always focus on your breathing. Keep going a little bit more. And stop. Okay, walking, back to our best walk. Stay focused on your breathing. Remember, the way you catch your breathing, the way you control your breathing, it's the same way you can control your thoughts and your feelings. Alright, let's start with some shoulder rolls forward. Let's do 10 forward. And backwards. Okay, let's do some arm circles forward. Feel the power of you controlling your mind and your body. Feel the joy of being able to move your body through space the best way you can. And backwards. Okay, hands on your hips, bend your knees, and side stretch. Okay, let's twist our bodies. Twist. Hands on the hips. All right, and let's do 5 push-ups, everyone. 5 push-ups. All right, let's do 5 sit-ups together. Here we go. The best you can. Okay, and let's do 5 squats. Here we go. let's do lunges. 3 on each side, arms out. Alternating legs. All right, good. And let's do 10-second plank. Belly's knees off the ground. And stand up again, everyone. And let's reach for the ceiling on our toes. Hold it there for 10. Okay, and reach for your toes, straight knees. Remember to focus and control that breathing. Just reach. It's okay if you don't touch your toes. Reaching is what matters. All right, and stand up. And let's balance. Grab one leg and focus on planting that foot firmly into the ground. Bend the one knee if you have to. Find your balance point. And then pull that heel back towards your bottom. Excellent. All right, and switch. The other one. Find that balance and hold. All right, good. Okay, and now let's hug the one knee. Here we go. Bring that knee up. And again, find that balance. And hold it there. 10 seconds. All right, and switch. The other one. Slowly bring it up. All right, good job. Excellent. Okay, and let's sit down. And let's stretch out and reach for our toes. Straight knees. Here we go. Again, reaching is what matters. It's okay if you don't touch your toes. Just give your best. Feel the joy. Feel the process of you working to become better at every movement you make. Every stretch you do. Okay, here we go. Let's do V-shape now with the legs. So V-shape, and reach for the floor as far away from your body as you can. And reach for one side. Hold it there. And switch to the other side. Alright, let's bring our feet together now. And gently push your knees down with your elbows and hold it there for 10. Here we go. Again, feel that power of you in the now, in the moment. Winning. W-I-N, I've heard before, stands for what's important now. What's important now is doing our best in whatever we do. Okay, let's go one leg forward and one leg back. Keep the knee on the ground and go as far back as you can without hurting yourself. Keep that knee down though. Here we go. And switch, the other one now. Again, keep that knee down. Go as far back as you can. Okay, good. All right. And let's roll onto our belly. And let's push the floor and look up at the ceiling. Cobra stretch. Here we go. Hold it for 10. All right, excellent. Okay, legs crossed again. Back straight. Eyes closed. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now I want you to see yourself right now. When that music goes on, I want you to see yourself doing the best you can on an exercise of your choice. For me today, I'm going to be working on challenging myself to do as many push-ups and air squats as I can. I'm going to see that in my mind right now. I'm going to try to be a little bit better than I was last time. What about you? Think about it. What is there that you want to get better at? What exercise do you want to do? Remember, it's got to be within the rules, safety rules, rules that are there for you to keep you safe. So this is the space we have right here. So what exercise will you do to the best of your ability when that music goes on? I want you to see that clearly in your mind right now. You might want to do jumping jacks. You might want to do burpees. You might want to simply dance, move your body to the music. If you want to play your own music, you can do that as well. I've got my music here. You feel free to enjoy that. But I want you to see yourself when that music goes on, doing the best you can at whatever exercise you choose. Because you know the truth. The way you do that is the same way you will improve and do better at anything. All right, determination, let's go. Let's feel that energy moving up. Here we go. Music always changes our energy state. Whatever you do, you gotta believe that you can do better. Here I go. As many push-ups as I can do. All right, we got 53 today. I gotta remember that for next time. What is it for you? What are you doing right now? Maybe you're doing some jumping jacks. Maybe you're dancing to the music. Whatever it is you're doing, do it to the best of your ability. You were born to be your best all the time. Remember your breathing. Always believe that you can be better than you were the last time. Even if you don't get exactly where you want to be, the process, the struggle, fighting to be better than you were last time, that's what's going to bring you your joy and your happiness. We have our determination. We get to work on that all the time. All right, air squats are next for me. What about you? right, air squats. Let's see how many I can do here before I get tired. Too tired to keep going, but there's always a little bit more. That's determination. All right, here we go. You can feel free to do the same thing, or again, do your own thing. You got your own dance, your music, whatever you want to do. Whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability. Here we go. All right, how's everybody feeling? We got the blood flowing. We've given our best at something. Feeling the power of us controlling our breathing again. There's no greater joy than that. For me, no greater joy than the awareness of our determination. So sometimes I try to do these exercises and I try to do as many reps as I can in a minute. That's one way to do it. You can change up your intensity, the amount of reps you do, the time you have, that's up to you. But whatever you choose, always try to get a little bit better than you were last time. And once again, legs crossed, back straight, eyes closed, focused on our breathing, back to our breathing. That powerful force, keeping us alive, keeping our energy flowing. And we don't really think about it. We never really attempt to control our breathing, most of us anyway. But we were born to do that too. To remember that in any moment, we can take charge of it, the way we take charge of our breathing. Same way we take charge of our mind, our thoughts. So reflect back on today. How did you do? Are you satisfied with your work ethic? Are you satisfied with your determination? Did you use it in its fullness, its beauty? Our determination is invisible. We cannot put our finger on it. We cannot see it. But it is there. We have the power to determine what we will think and what we will do. Today, we've won the morning. We've won our minds. And therefore we can win our day and our life. One breath at a time. One thought at a time. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great life as always. I miss you. I love you guys so much. Keep going. Keep using your determination. Love you guys.
I think being in Silicon Valley is pretty important because what's really critical with electric cars is electrical engineering, software, and electronics. And Silicon Valley has the best concentration of talent in those areas in the world.
2008 in particular was awful because we had the third launch failure in a row of our Falcon 1 vehicle at SpaceX. The Tesla financing round that we were raising fell apart because the economy was going through tailspin. And it's pretty hard to raise money for a startup car company, late 2008 when GM and Chrysler are busy going bankrupt. That was tough. And then Solar City had a deal with Morgan Stanley, and Morgan Stanley had to renege on the deal because they themselves were running out of money. So it looked like all three companies were going to die. And I was also going through a divorce. So that was definitely a low point.
So it's 2008, you're going through a divorce, which like some, to borrow your word, douchebag bloggers are writing about to make even worse.
Right, yes, that's true. In addition to all that stuff happening, I was getting dumped on massively in the press.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks like all three companies are going to fail. I mean, why do you keep going with all three? Like, I feel like even a lot of great entrepreneurs in that situation would have been like, I've already sunk everything I have in these companies, and I got to pick one. But you didn't. I mean, you kept doing all three. Why?
That was a very tough call. At the end of 2008, that was probably one of the toughest calls I've had to make, because I could either reserve capital for one company or the other. I mean, fortunately, Solar City didn't need a ton of capital, so they were okay. But between SpaceX and Tesla, it's sort of like if you've got two kids, and what do? Do you spend all your money to maximize the probability of success of one, or do you try to keep both alive? Fortunately, it worked.
It's very important to seek out, to actively seek out and listen very carefully to negative feedback. And this is something that people tend to avoid because it's painful. But I think this is a very common mistake, is to not actively seek out and listen to negative feedback.
Where do you do that? Do you go into forums? Do you go into Twitter? Like, what are your areas where you go to look for feedback on, let's say, the Tesla?
Well, it's like everyone I talk to is, in fact, when friends get a product, I say, look, don't tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like.
Right.
And because otherwise your friend is not going to tell you what he doesn't like.
Right.
He's going to say, oh, I love this and that, and then leave out the this is the stuff I don't like list, because he wants to be your friend, doesn't want to offend you. So you really need to sort of coax negative feedback, and you know that if somebody is your friend, or at least not your enemy, and they're giving you negative feedback, then they may be wrong, but it's coming from a good place. And sometimes even your enemies give you good negative feedback.
When I started the first internet company, Zip2, with my brother and another person, Greg Curry,
it wasn't really with the thought of being wealthy. You know, I've got nothing against being wealthy, but
we'll get back to that later too.
but it's just it was just from the standpoint of wanting to be part of the internet, and I figured if we could make enough money to just get by, that would be okay. And when we started off, we literally only had like one computer, and so it would be our web server during the day, and I'd code at night. And we just got a small office in Palo Alto back when rent was not insane, and it cost us like $450 a month. It was cheaper than an apartment, so we actually just slept in the office and then showered at the YMCA on Page Mill, El Camino. So we'd walk over there and shower, and that was actually, I think that was when I first met you, by the way. So I don't know if how many people, probably not many people know this, but we actually pitched Steve in like January '96 on the Zip2 business plan, and actually I thought Steve was actually one of the most up to speed on what actually was in our business plan. Most of the people we met did not actually read our business plan. In fact, a lot of venture capitalists we met at the time didn't even know what the internet was. They'd never used it.
I'm sure if we still do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm talking like, sort of well-known people on Sand Hill. I was like, wow, okay. But at the time, nobody had made any money on the internet, so I guess that's, then it wasn't really clear evidence that there was a business.
I should say that, when I was a kid, I didn't really have any grand designs. I mean, the reason I started programming computers is because I like computer games. And I play lots of computer games, and I learned that if I wrote software and sold it, then I could get more money and buy better computers. So it wasn't really, with some grand vision or anything. When I was growing up, I'd read lots of books, and they were very often set in the United States, and it seemed like a lot of new technology was being developed in the United States. So I thought, okay, I really want to work on new technology, so I want to get to Silicon Valley. Which when I was growing up, Silicon Valley seemed like some sort of mythical place, like Mount Olympus or something.
I think one thing that's important is if you have a choice of a lower valuation with someone you really like, or a higher valuation with someone you have a question mark about, take the lower valuation. It's better to have a higher quality venture capitalist who you think would be great to work with than to get a higher valuation with someone where there's even a question mark, really. I think that's important. It's sort of like getting married.
The secret to your success to be the CEO of two companies at the same time?
No. I think it's...
Because look at the correlation.
Yeah.
Struggling companies, everything's in the craft can in December 2008, so let's take on a new CEO gig. And same for Steve, going back to Apple. Right?
No, definitely it was not my intention to be CEO of two companies. There's certain things that I kind of wanted to, I thought were important to happen, and I thought it was important that there was, that an electric vehicle happened, that there was a success in the electric vehicle arena, because the incumbent companies were convinced that it was not possible to create an electric car that looked good, had a good range performance and so forth, and that even if you did make such a car, it would not sell, because people had this love of gasoline. So we had to show that it was possible to create a compelling electric car, long range, good looking, all those things. That was a Tesla Roadster. And if you if you made such a thing, people would buy it. I certainly was I was very, very bookish. I was reading all the time. So I was either reading, working on my computer, reading comics, playing Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing.
And I understand Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that wonderful book by Douglas Adams. That was a key book for you. What was it about that book that fired your imagination?
I guess when I was in around 12 or 13, I had kind of an existential crisis, and I was reading various books on trying to figure out the meaning of life, and what does it all mean? Because it starts seeming quite meaningless, and then
we happen to have like some books by Nietzsche and Schopenhauer in the house, which you should not read at age 14. It's bad. It's really negative. But then I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was like quite positive, I think, and it sort of highlighted an important point, which is that a lot of times the question is harder than the answer, and if you can properly phrase the question, then the answer is the easy part. And so, if to the degree that we can better understand the universe, then we better know what questions to ask, and then whatever the question is that most approximates what's the meaning of life, that's the question we could ultimately get closer to understanding. And so I thought, well, to the degree that we can expand the scope and scale of consciousness and knowledge, human knowledge, then that would be a good thing.
Well, we've got a lot of work to do because we've got a lot of service centers and charge stations to construct. So mostly it's like we're trying to build our service and charge infrastructure as fast as possible. And I know this, like some of the customers who have ordered a car, they're not in the major cities, so they're a little unhappy with us because we are delaying delivery of their car. And in fact, I'm going to apologize to some of them personally and explain the reason we are delaying delivery is because we really want them to have a good experience. But if they're too far from a service center and the charging is not sorted out, then they will not have a good experience. So we're going to delay their cars just for a few months to make sure that they have a good experience. I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing.
Me too type ideas.
Yeah, slight iterations on a theme, and it's kind of mentally easier to reason by analogy rather than from first principles. But by first principles is kind of a physics way of looking at the world, and what that really means is you kind of boil things down to the most fundamental truths, and say, okay, what are we sure is true, or as sure as possible is true, and then reason up from there. That takes a lot more mental energy.
Give me an example of that. Like, what's one thing that you've done that on that you feel has worked for you?
Sure. So somebody could say, in fact, people do, that battery packs are really expensive, and that's just the way they'll always be, because that's the way they've been in the past.
Some of us noticed that the stereo goes to 11 on the Tesla. This is a Spinal Tap reference for those who know that this one goes to 11, and you need just one more.
It's louder than loud.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. But no one seems to have noticed the product lineup. So you got the Model S, you got the Model X.
Oh, yeah.
You've just trademarked the Model E.
Yeah.
No one's bet anything.
What do you? Yeah, you gotta.
And the Model and the Model Y.
Yeah.
Now, what's behind this?
I know exactly. Well, I guess there's not a lot of humor in the trademark law, you know, because obviously we just trademarked sexy. So, and then we're having this discussion with Ford because the Ford's council they also didn't get it because they're sort of slightly opposing us using Model E. And then they saw that we registered Model Y, and they said, "Oh, you're planning to use Model Y instead of Model E?" Like, no, it was just a joke.
Right, we don't do that.
Like, what does it spell?
When trying different things, you got to have some acceptance of failure, as you were alluding to earlier. Failure must be an option. If failure is not an option, it's going to result in extremely conservative choices, and you may get something even worse than lack of innovation. Things may go backwards. If what you really want is you want reward and punishment to be proportionate to the actions that you seek. So if what you're seeking is innovation, then you should reward success and innovation, and only there should be minor consequences for trying and failing. There should be minor. With significant rewards for trying and succeeding, minor consequences for trying and not succeeding, and major negative consequences for not trying.
Or maybe I just blank out the word doubt. No, I mean, to be totally frank, I doubted us too. So I thought we, had maybe, when starting SpaceX, maybe had a 10% chance of reaching orbit. So to those who doubted us, I was like, well, I think you're probably right. I mean, the number of times that I was told, like, because I was taking the money that I earned from PayPal and rolling it into to create SpaceX and Tesla, and I ended up spending it all. It wasn't the intention, but almost both companies went bankrupt. Frankly, 2008 was a tough year. It took us 4 attempts just to get to orbit with Falcon 1. But a lot of times people would tell me this joke, like, how do you make a small fortune in the rocket industry? You start with a large one, is the punchline. And I was like, okay, I already heard that joke 12,000 times, Anyway, and it almost came true. We just barely made it there, that 4th launch of Falcon 1. That's all the money we had for that 4th launch. And then, and that wasn't even enough to save the company. We also then had to win the NASA cargo resupply contract. So that came a little after, a little bit later, or right towards the end of 2008. Those are the 2 key things that saved SpaceX. Otherwise, we would have, not made it. So hey, I think those doubters their probability assessment was correct. But fortunately, Beta smiled upon us and brought us to this day. Yeah, human spaceflight was always the goal, the fundamental goal of SpaceX.
As you look back on your career in the space industry, what has been the most surprising or unexpected challenge that you faced? And along those lines, if you were to go back in time and talk to your 20-year-old self, would you do anything differently?
Go back in time to your 20-year-old self.
I mean, I think it would make far fewer mistakes. Obviously, if I could go, like, here's a list of all the dumb things you're about to do. Please do not do them.
Wouldn't we all?
It'd be a very long list. And like, here, let me write it down or something. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, so it's hard to say. I mean, I've made so many foolish mistakes. I lost count, honestly. I mean, some of these things I just wish like that's simple sort of mantra, management by rhyming. I mean, it worked for Homer, okay? The management by rhyming is that thing I was saying, like, if the schedule is long, the design is wrong. We've overcomplicated the design many times. And I think we should have just gone with a simpler design, with the acid test being, how long will it take for this to fly? And if it's going to take a long time, don't do it. Do something else. I think we need to push for radical breakthroughs. And if you don't push for radical breakthroughs, you're not going to get radical outcomes. And that does mean taking risks. And common sense that if you take a big risk, in order to have a big reward, there must be a big risk. Most of the time, you cannot find big reward for small risk. Those are rare. So you're going to have some proportionality with the risk and reward.
Simplify your product as much as possible. And then, like, if I think of some of the ways in which, how does a smart engineer make dumb mistakes, is optimize something that shouldn't exist. Don't optimize something that shouldn't exist.
But people are trained to do this in college. You can't say no to the professor. You know, the professor's going to give you the exam, and you've got to answer all the questions, or they will get angry. And give you a bad grade. So then you always optimize you always answer the question. A lot of the times you should say this is the wrong question.
Right.
In fact, the question is definitely wrong to some degree, just how wrong. And I think just generally taking the approach that your design is some degree wrong, probably a lot more than you think. Your goal is to make it less wrong over time.
But one of the fun things for me is watching the cargo go into the crew vessel. You know, all of a sudden we had Dragon 1, now we have Crew Dragon, and it's substantially different but familiar. Mm-hmm. So tell us, like, what's been some of the hardest parts to transition from cargo into crew? Because crew is a little more important than than cargo.
Yes, I mean, cargo can be replaced, crew cannot. And so the level of scrutiny, the level of attention is, I mean, I don't know, order of magnitude greater. I mean, it was already high for cargo. I mean, but it's just a whole nother level for crew. So, you know, and I told the SpaceX team that, you know, this mission reliability is not merely the top priority; it is the only priority right now. Mm-hmm. So we're just doing continuous engineering reviews from now, nonstop, 24 hours a day until launch. Just going over everything again and again and again. And I was out at the pad just recently, just walking down the rocket. We've got a team that's just crawling over the rocket in the horizontal. Then we're going to rotate it vertical. Then we're going to crawl all over in the vertical. And we're just looking for any possible action that can improve the probability of success, no matter how small, whether that comes from an intern or me or anyone.
What sort of things do you look for in people or in processes that make the workforce better?
Sure. Well, I think the massive thing that can be done is to make sure your incentive structure is such that innovation is rewarded and lack of innovation is punished. So you've got to be a carrot and a stick. So if somebody is innovating and making good progress, then they should be promoted sooner. And if somebody is completely failing to innovate, not every role requires innovation, but if they're in a role where innovation should be happening and it's not happening, then they should either not be promoted or exited. And let me tell you, you'll get promoted, you'll get innovation real fast. Your actual total mass of a reusable steel spacecraft is less than that of the most advanced carbon fiber vehicle you could possibly imagine.
Yeah. Wow.
But this happened by accident, by the way. This may sound like some great insight, but it actually happened because we were moving too slowly on composite. And I was like, we cannot move this slowly or we'll go bankrupt. So just do this with steel.
So, I mean, the design has to be focused on problem solving, otherwise you're going to spend too much time trying to figure it. You don't start with
Yeah, I'm like sort of taking to management by rhyming. If the schedule is long, your design is wrong. Zip2 started off as basically, like I said, we're trying to figure out how to make enough money to exist as a company, and so since there wasn't really any advertising money being made, we thought we could help existing companies get online, bring their stuff online. So we developed software that helped bring a lot of the newspapers and media companies online, because a lot of them just they also didn't know what the internet was.
You had some big customers, didn't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even the ones that were aware of the internet didn't have a software team, so they weren't very good at developing functionality. So we had, as investors and customers, the New York Times Company, Knight Ridder, Hearst, and so we were able to get them to pay us to develop software for them to bring them online, so online publishing stuff. And we did maps and directions and yellow pages and white pages and various other things. You don't need college to learn stuff, okay? Everything is available basically for free. You can learn anything you want for free. It is not a question of learning. There is a value that colleges have, which is like, seeing whether can somebody work hard at something including a bunch of sort of annoying homework assignments, and still do their homework assignments and kind of soldier through and get it done. You know, that's like the main value of college. And then also, you know, if you probably want to hang around with a bunch of people your own age for a while instead of going right into the workforce. So I think colleges are basically for fun and to prove you can do your chores, but they're not for learning. The real way I think you actually achieve intellectual property protection is by innovating fast enough. If your rate of innovation is high, then you don't need to worry about protecting the IP because other companies will be copying something that you did years ago. And that's fine, you know. Just make sure your rate of innovation is fast. Speed of innovation is what matters. And I do say this to my teams like quite a lot, that innovation per unit time, as I go innovation per year, if you want to say it, like is what matters, not innovation absent time. Because if you wanted to make, say, 100% improvement in something, and that took 100 years or 1 year, that's radically different. So it's like, what is your rate of innovation? That matters. And is the rate of innovation, is that accelerating or decelerating? And a weird thing happens when companies get big is that most companies or organizations, the bigger they get, they tend to get less innovative. Not just less innovative on a per person basis, but less innovative in the absolute. And I think this is probably because the incentive structure is not there for innovation. It's not enough to use words to encourage innovation. The incentive structure must be aligned with that. That's fundamental.
You need to work, depending upon how well you want to do, and particularly if you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? Well, when my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA, and we're so hot up we had just one computer. So the website was up during the day, and I was coding at night, 7 days a week, all the time. And I sort of briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she'd have to sleep in the office. So work hard, like every waking hour. That's the thing I would say particularly if you're starting a company. And I mean, if you do simple math, say like, okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company.
I came to the conclusion that my initial premise was wrong. That in fact, there's a great deal of will. You know, that there's not such a shortage, but people don't think there's a way. And that if people thought there was a way, or at least something that wouldn't break the federal budget, then people would support it. Which in retrospect I think is actually kind of obvious, because the United States is a distillation of the human spirit of exploration. People came here from other places. I mean, it's, you know, there's no nation that's more a nation of explorers than the United States. But people need to believe that it's possible, and that it's not, you know, they're not going to have to give up like healthcare or something important.
Right.
You know, it's got to be that's important. So I thought, okay, well, then it's not a question of will. It's a question of showing that there's a way.
In the beginning, nobody wanted a Tesla. I can tell you that. When we made the original sort of roadster sports car, people were like, well, why would I want an electric car? My gasoline car works fine. I'm like, no, electric car is better. I should try it. And it was hard to get people to do a test drive. First of all, nobody knew who we were. They never heard of this company. And I'm like, yeah, we're named after Nikola Tesla. You know that guy? Nope. So for sure we were doing push in the beginning because people said there was no one telling us that they wanted an electric car. So it was not out of like, it was like lots of people coming up to me saying, hey, I really want an electric car. I heard that 0 times. So people were like, it's like, man, we better make an electric car and show that these things can be good, and then people will want them. It's like, I think it was like Henry Ford said that like when we talk about the Model T, it's like if you ask the public what they wanted, they'd say a faster horse. Mm-hmm. So if you did like a big survey and say, well, hey, public, before automobiles, what would you like? It's like, well, I'd like my horse to go 3 miles an hour faster and eat less food and be stronger and live longer and that kind of thing. There'll be basically a bunch of incremental improvements on a horse. Because people, when you say like, well, what about an automobile, like car that drives itself? Like, what are you talking about? That sounds crazy. But when you actually make an automobile and give it to people and say, okay, now this is a horse where you can keep it in the barn, and if you leave for a month, it's still alive. Yeah. So carry more weight than a horse and go further and that kind of thing. So, it's like when it's a radically new product, people don't know that they want it because it's just not in their scope. I think when they first started making TVs, they did a nationwide survey. I think this might have been like 46 or 48. It was like a famous nationwide survey. Will you ever buy a TV? And it was like 96% of respondents said no. Some crazy number. Like basically everyone's like, would you buy a TV? And maybe they put a price in there or something, I don't know. But it was famously, almost everyone said they would not buy a TV, but they didn't know what they're talking about.
So the big game-changing stuff at the beginning is a company push kind of a thing most of the time. But then changes to the product over time can be a lot more customer pull kind of a focus.
Yeah, changes to the product over time can be incremental changes. Then customers can certainly tell you, it's good to get customer feedback to say, how can we improve the product? And once they're using it, they can say, okay, I like this thing about it, I don't like this other thing, and then we can improve the product over time. Customer feedback after they have the fundamental thing is great.
I think failure is bad. I don't think it's good. But if something's important enough, then you do it even though the risk of failure is high. And so I think my advice, if somebody wants to start a company, is they should bear in mind that the most likely outcome is that it's not going to work. And they should reconcile themselves to that strong possibility. And they should only do it if they feel that they are really compelled to do it. Because it's going to, the way starting a company works is like usually in the very beginning it's kind of fun, and then it's really hellish for a number of years.
You talked about chewing glass.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine who's a successful entrepreneur, and started actually his career around the same time as I did, and he has a good phrase. His name's Billy. He said, "Yeah, starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss," and
you agree with that?
Generally true. Yeah. And if you don't eat the glass, you're not going to be successful.
Well, we have a lot of good people at SpaceX that, a lot of really talented people. In fact, I wonder, like, sometimes how we can make use of their talents in the best way, because, I think we're often not using their talents in the best way. Yeah, but to the point of the question that was just asked, I want to make sure Tesla recruiting does not have anything that says requires university, because that's absurd. But there is a requirement of evidence of exceptional ability. Like, you just can't, if you're trying to do something exceptional, they must have evidence of exceptional ability. I don't consider going to college evidence of exceptional ability. In fact, ideally you dropped out and did something. I mean, obviously,
We look at Gates is a pretty smart guy, he dropped out. Jobs pretty smart, he dropped out. Larry Ellison, smart guy, he dropped out. I'm like, obviously not needed. I think of these things as just there's a certain amount of time, and within that time you want the best net outcome. So for all the set of actions that you can do, there's going to be some of which will fail, some of which will succeed, and you want the net useful output of your set of actions to be the highest. I'm going to use a baseball analogy. Baseball, they don't let you just sit there and wait for the perfect pitch until you get a real easy one. They can give you 3 shots. And the third one, they say, okay, and they get off they go back to put somebody else up there. So your 3 strikes on baseball, not on bat anymore. So what you're really looking for is what's the batting average? How you doing on score, and just there's going to be some amount of failure, but you want your net output, net useful output to be maximized. Failure is essentially irrelevant unless it is catastrophic.
Don't just follow the trend. So you may have heard me say that it's good to think in terms of the physics approach of first principles, which is, rather than reasoning by analogy, you boil things down to the most fundamental truths you can imagine, and you reason up from there. And this is a good way to figure out if something really makes sense, or if it's just what everybody else is doing. It's hard to think that way. You can't think that way about everything. It takes a lot of effort. But if you're trying to do something new, it's the best way to think. And that framework was developed by physicists to figure out counterintuitive things like quantum mechanics. So it's really a powerful method.
I believe in the scientific method, and one should have a healthy skepticism of things in general. And if you approach things from a scientific standpoint, you always look at things probabilistically, not definitively. And so I think a lot of times, if somebody's a skeptic in the science community, what they're really saying is that they're not sure that it's 100% certain that this is the case. But that's not the point. The point is is look at it from the other side. So what do you think the percentage chance is of this being catastrophic for some meaningful percentage of the Earth's population? Is it greater than 1%? Is it even 1%? If it is even 1%, why are we running this experiment? I mean, if you think about a company is a group of people that are organized to create a product or service. That's what a company is. So in order to create such a thing, you have to convince others to join you in your effort. And so they have to be convinced that it's a sensible thing, that there's at least some reasonable chance of success, and if there is success, that the reward will be commensurate with the effort involved. So I think that's getting people to believe in what you're doing and in you is important. So in the beginning, there will be few people who believe in you or in what you're doing, but then over time, as you make progress, the evidence will build, and more people will believe in what you're doing. So I think it's a good idea when creating a company to have a demonstration, or if it's a product, to have like a good mock-up, or if it's software, to have good demoware, or to be able to sketch something so that people can really envision what it's about. Try to get to that point as soon as possible, and then iterate to make it as real as possible, as fast as possible.
If you're going to try something